Hello and welcome everyone. It is Friday night and you're listening to Paranormal Review Radio, the only radio show without commercials and with more great paranormal talk. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Anthony Augusta in New York.
And I'm Lucy Liebfried in Chicago. You are listening to one of the highest rated paranormal radio shows on Blog Talk. No bull, no lies, just a true platform for everyone to share their knowledge and experiences. When searching for the truth, good communication is key. Now, our phone lines are open for questions or stories. The number to call is 661-244-9831. Make sure you press the number 1 to get into the queue, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. Otherwise, our chat room is open for questions and comments, so you can post them there as well. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paranormal Review Radio. You'll find more articles, blogs, and full show uploads. And if you have specific questions or comments, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, email us at paranormal.review@aol.com. Now, sit back, get comfy, and prepare to open your minds. It's time for Paranormal Review Radio.
Everybody loves your laugh, so I'll just let you laugh. Go ahead. All right. Many movies these days heighten their shrill factor by excessively using the phrase based on a true story, when in fact many of these movies only contain about 2% reality or real life truth for that matter. Hollywood typically takes a small piece of a real story, or sometimes a story that has no evidence but was told to them by a friend and is considered to be true, and makes them into blockbuster movies, misleading their audiences and allowing people to believe in things that are just smoke and mirrors. However, there are movies based on true stories that you wish were never true. Movies like Silence of the Lambs, Psycho, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. These films are some of the most horrid and disgusting movies that you would think were just made up by writers, but in fact are full of truth and real-life stories, and the one man who is at the center of these horrific and gruesome films, and the person who is depicted in them, is none other than the infamous Ed Gein. Yes, there really was a Leatherface, a cannibal, and a man who treasured his mom so much that he cut off her head, de-skinned her, and kept it on a dresser in a room of his childhood home. Ed Gein was an American serial killer, although some say that, and body snatcher. His crimes committed around his hometown of Plainfield, Wisconsin, gathered widespread notoriety after authorities discovered Gein had exhumed corpses from local graveyards and fashioned trophies and keepsakes from their bones and skin. Gein confessed to killing 2 women, tavern owner Mary Hogan on December 8, 1954, and a Plainfield hardware store owner, Bernice Warden, on November 16, 1957. Initially found unfit for trial, after confinement in a mental health facility in 1968, Gein was found guilty but legally insane for the murder of Warden and was confined in psychiatric institutions. He died at Mendota Mental Health Institute of cancer-induced liver and respiratory failure on July 26, 1984. He is buried in Plainfield Cemetery in now an unmarked grave. Tonight, Lucy and I will attempt to contact Ed Gein to find out why he did these heinous murders and grave robbing, why he killed Mary Hogan and Bernice Warden, why he skinned them and made household items with body parts and skin. This will be a different type of seance you probably won't hear or see anywhere else. As with everything, we don't recommend you do this on your own. Lucy and I are not experts nor novice investigators, but we know our limits and take this very, very seriously. If you are not comfortable with our show tonight, you're free to turn it off and watch something you prefer. If you are comfortable with watching, we ask that you protect yourself and don't allow your mind and body to become a sponge, as we say, to the spirit world. Just because you're only watching or listening does not mean you're immune to anything. Remember, the spirit world has no boundaries or limits. So with that said, Lucy, why don't you start talking about Ed Gein and get into some of the history so that our audience, knows about him if they're not familiar with him, and some of his activities.
Okay. Well, Ed Gein, he was a bachelor, a 51-year-old bachelor, who was born in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And as Anthony said, this was in August of 1906. He was the second child of George and Augusta Gein. And Ed was, well, let me start with the background. I mean, really. Ed had a very, very close relationship with his mother. Okay? His father George was a hard drinking man. He drifted from job to job. He sold insurance. He did carpentry. He worked as a tanner. He worked in a power plant and at a railway. He was a heavy drinker. Okay? But despite all of this, and being a drinker and everything like that, he had what is described as a ramrod straight posture and a dignified manner that could make a positive impression. So when George was 24, he met 19-year-old Augusta, and he made a great impression. And Augusta was a large-breasted, heavy-set young woman with a broad face. She had been brought up in a deeply religious Lutheran household, and she was very close to her own father, who really took the Bible very seriously. Her father believed in sparing the rod to spoil the child. George and Augusta, they got married in 1899, but this marriage was troubled from the beginning. Because George was drinking so much, it was hard for him to keep a job, and he pretty much drank the family's money away. Augusta really got on his case, didn't like it. George, who really wasn't a verbal person, kind of withdrew, and when she was going off on him, he would pretty much just close up. He would also hit her every once in a while. Now, one of the things that I found, one of the articles that I found, talked about the couple's sex life. Okay, it wasn't a good one. Augusta had extreme beliefs as far as sex, as far as relationships between men and women. She believed that fornication and adultery were the worst of sins. She even saw sex within marriage as a distasteful expression of a husband's vile lust and a duty that a wife performed for the sake of procreation. Excuse me. In spite of all this, Augusta wanted children. Okay, so she did her duty, and the result of it, George and Augusta had their first child, who was a boy, and his name was Henry. And Henry was born January 17th, 1902. Now, the birth of this child gave Augusta, someone to love, someone to give affection to, but it really didn't do anything for their marriage. Okay, George continued to bounce from job to job, and Augusta still let him have it every chance she could. Now, Augusta decided that because George was having such a hard time getting a job, that he should go into business for himself. So in 1909, George became the owner of a small grocery store. Now this, for all intents and purposes, was the classic mom and pop grocery store. Augusta did do much of the work because George was still drinking and he would not apply himself to the business. Henry's birth, the first child, really didn't satisfy Augusta's need to be a mother. She thought maybe because it was a boy. Now, one of the things that when you go into the history and you look at Augusta, she seemed to have this deep-rooted distaste for men. So part of what she wanted to. She wanted another child, but she wanted a girl. She believed that if she had a girl, she could raise the girl in a Christian manner, and she would be able to bring a good person forth in this world. She allowed George to have sex with her again, and she got pregnant. She was praying for that girl. But instead of getting her girl, she gave birth to Edward Theodore Gein. And Ed was born August 27th, 1906. Now, Augusta was really, really disappointed because she had another boy. She wasn't the kind of person that would give in to her sadness or anything like that. She was made of stronger stuff. So she took the baby in her arms and she swore that this child would not grow up to be like the rest of men. Those lustful, swearing, foul-mouthed creatures who made use of women's bodies in such filthy ways. This one, she promised, would be different. Augusta would see to that.
He was different.
Yeah. Now, when Eddie was 7, Augusta decided that the family needed to leave La Crosse, Wisconsin. According to Augusta, La Crosse, Wisconsin was kind of like a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. It was full of sin. It was full of vices. She wanted to take her family away from this. So what she did, she had George sell the business, and with that money, they moved to a farm. Let's see. Actually, they bought a small farm. Late in 1913, the family bought a small dairy farm that was about 40 miles east of La Crosse. But for some reason, a year later, they finally moved to Plainfield. And Plainfield was where they stayed. Now, the farm that they bought was on the outside of town. It was pretty isolated. It was between 195 200 acres. It had a nice 2-story house that had no electricity, no indoor plumbing, but it did have a barn, a chicken coop, and a woodshed, an equipment shack. The isolation was good for her, for Augusta, because she could keep her precious sons safe from the temptations of Plainfield. She believed sinful, ungodly activities, particularly sexual activities, were rampant in the town. She kept her home squeaky clean. She believed that cleanliness was next to godliness, and she was determined that no one would be more godly than Augusta Gein. Now, Augusta wanted to keep her boys as far away from temptation as she could. She didn't want to send them to school, but it was compulsory. So Eddie and Henry went to school. Eddie was an average student. He did like to read. That's something that he carried on later on in his life. He didn't like school. He also had a fat, fleshy growth on the outside of his left eyelid. It wasn't really, a disfigurement, but it did cause the eye to droop, and he was teased about it by the other kids. He was shy. He really didn't make any friends. Every once in a while, he would meet a kid that he wanted to be friends with, and when he got home, he would tell his mother about the kid. Right away, Augusta, she would raise objections, and she said that this child came from a family with a bad reputation. She did not allow poor Eddie to make friends. Even though this marriage was bad, to Augusta, divorce was a no-no. She was not going to get divorced. It was unthinkable. It was a fundamental violation of her religious beliefs. To Augusta, she believed that life was something, it wasn't supposed to be enjoyed. It was a series of burdens to be borne, and she did her duty. So as Henry and Ed grew older, she made sure that they lived a clean life. She kept them isolated from people. There really were no connections with other kids, no friendships that were made.
But
she
there
kept
was
saying
something
to them.
There was something that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there was something that I had actually watched a documentary on this, that obviously with Augusta's strong religious background, she was very strict in the teachings, as you were talking about. Not only teaching her children to do good and be good and not be as, the quote-unquote, like other boys in the town. She was very strict and hard in teaching them the words of the Bible. And very religious, very strict. He had to recite passages and I believe singing hymns and poems from the Bible. And I think at some point, while his brother Henry and he were growing up, I think there was communication about how, and I think what happened was there was some sort of early dysfunction, early developmental dysfunction with Ed Gein. And it seemed as though Ed became jealous of his brother. And I'm not sure if it was the fact that Henry was more adaptable to surroundings, if he had a more of a clear head, or maybe he wasn't being scolded at, or wasn't under the thumb of Augusta, his mother, as much as he was. And there's not factual evidence, but there's a belief, a good strong belief, that Ed Gein actually killed his brother when he was young. And it is recorded and documented that the brother had died. I'm not sure. Do you remember how, or
when they were on the farm, when the Plainfield farm, there was a brush fire that occurred on the farm. That's right. And Ed and Henry rushed out there, and they were trying to do what they could to, put the fire out. And Ed says that he lost sight of his brother in the flames, or in the smoke. So he ran to go get help. He ran to go get the police. And when he came back, he had told them, well, I don't know where my brother was. I couldn't find him. But yet he was able to take the police directly where the body was. Right. So because of that, the rumor or the thought is that Ed was the one that killed his brother and got rid of him in the flames. Right.
And then, pretty much soon after that, I think it was in his early teens that his father had died, I think of liver something. I don't know if it was liver cancer or something. I think it was all due basically to the drinking. That he had been doing for his almost entire life. And so at this point, basically, it was just Ed and his mom. And the way that the stories have been told, it's almost as if Ed was content with this, that it was just he and his mother. And vice versa also, that Augusta was happy as well. And almost feeling of that they preferred to have this, that it was just them two, taking on the world. And I think this is where, at this point in his early teenage years, or mid-teenage years, is where more of that dysfunctional development occurred. And this is where he started to formulate the idea that women were bad, and that all the teachings that his mother had done to him and for him led to the belief that in order for him to survive in the world, the thoughts of getting rid of women were much more appealing than allowing neighbors or friends to live amongst him. And it's hard to fathom the idea that someone actually at that young age could be thinking this, especially having a hugely religious background and the teachings of the Bible, to then have it somehow warped and mutated into this sick sense of just I have to get rid of them. There are many quotes that Ed Gein had sort of memorialized over the years, and one of which is pretty sick, where he talks about, and I have it here somewhere, where he talks about when he would see a woman walking down the street. Here, when I see a pretty girl walking down the street, I think two things. One part wants me to be real nice and sweet, and the other part wonders what her head would look like on a stick. Now, this is not this is not something coming from a normal human being. This is someone who is sick and twisted, and many relate it to his mother. I don't know for a fact if that is true, and that's one of the things that we want to accomplish tonight, is how how did this develop, and whether or not there was this warped sense of being or teaching from his mother, or was it just a matter of his psychotic interpretation of what was going on in his life, and this is the only way that he was able to perceive it. So that's what we're hoping to get through tonight. But that's not where it ended. He didn't just kill his brother.
No. Augusta, actually, after Henry died, Augusta had a stroke, and she was able to come home from the hospital, but she was disabled. She was partially paralyzed. So Ed waited on her head, hand and foot. I mean, literally, what is thought that he worshipped her. He worshipped the ground she walked on. She thought she was the perfect embodiment of what women should be. She got a little bit better. She began walking again. And again, keep in mind, at this time, it's just the two of them on this farm, this isolated farm outside of town. There is an incident. She had a second stroke, and they went, they needed some straw for the farm. Eddie and his mother went to the neighbor's house, and the neighbor's name was Smith. And when they pulled into the yard, they saw the neighbor, Mr. Smith, beating a dog with a stick very violently. And a woman came out of the house and screamed at Mr. Smith and said, "Leave the poor dog alone." Well, Augusta got really, really upset. And the thing is that she didn't get upset about the dog being beat. She got upset about the woman. She called her Smith's harlot, and she got really, really upset because the couple weren't married. So it's thought that this whole incident, her coming in contact with this man who was living in sin with a woman, caused her to have a second stroke. That second stroke killed her. Now, Augusta had, kind of like molded Eddie into like this person who was totally dependent on her. She was his sole contact in the world. Now all of a sudden, Augusta is gone. Eddie is totally alone in the world. And what it's thought, because he had no one to talk to, he had no human contact, he became isolated, and it's thought at this point, this is where the insanity started to kick in. On the outside, he would go into town, he would go to the hardware store, he would go for groceries. Everybody thought he was this harmless guy. They used to call him weird old Eddie. They thought he was an odd duck. He would go there. They didn't see him as a crazy person. They just thought that he was, just quiet and weird. And people would come to the farm to come visit him, or maybe bring him food or something. He never allowed them to come into the house. He would always come out to the yard to talk to them. So, but no one ever made notice of that fact. No one ever really said anything about it. And at this point, this is when all of these things started happening. And this began November 16th, 1957, I believe it is. Hold on one second. Let's get back up here. there was only about 700 people in Plainfield, okay? And deer season starts in November. So the men in Plainfield, they would all go out hunt for food for the winter. And this is one thing they did for food. It wasn't for sport. So when deer season started, the town was pretty much deserted. I mean, you know, you can go in the street, nobody's there. There was a woman, 58-year-old Bernice Warden. She ran the hardware store.
Except for women. So the men would go out and hunt, leave their wives behind, and basically the town was just full of women and Ed Gein, because Ed Gein never went hunting. And so it was almost like, you know, a kid in a candy store. As sick as that may sound, that was basically what it felt like for him.
Well, Bernice opened her hardware store like clockwork every single morning. But on the morning of November 16th, she did not open that store. Her son had gone out deer hunting with all the other men, came home that night, and went to the store, you know, trying to find out what happened. He got into the store. The store was completely a mess. It was ransacked. There was blood all over the floor. His mother was missing. The sheriff came in. You know, they're trying to figure out what's going on. The son happened to mention that Ed had come into the store the day before. Now, there's also a rumor, and I wasn't able to substantiate it, that Ed had been trying to ask Bernice to go out with him, and she would always blow him off. So the sheriffs went, based on what the son had said, to Ed's farm. They go to the farm. It's completely locked up. There's no lights. There's no sign of life, nothing. So before they leave, one of the sheriff decides, you know what, let's take a look inside this woodshed. They go into the woodshed, and now keep in mind, this is a place where there's no lights, there's no plumbing. They had an outhouse, and they go into the shed, and they only had lanterns and flashlights. They go in there, and one of the deputies bumps into something in the dark on his shoulder. He turns around with the flashlight and shines it. There, hanging from the rafters, was Bernice. Bernice's head had been removed. She was gutted like a deer. Her insides were pulled out.
They then actually started to look around, and from the shed they went into the home then, because of the findings of the body, and noticed that the house was a complete mess. It was almost like a hoarder's house, and you know, everything was all over the floor, a mess, complete a mess, and noticed a brown paper bag lying on the floor in the hallway, and they went over to the brown paper bag, opened it up, and that's where they found Mary Hogan's head, and I think there were other body parts or other pieces of skin or flesh in the bag as well. And as they were looking then around afterwards, horrified after seeing all of this, they then started to see all of the utensils were made of bones. The lampshade was made of skin stitched together. I think there was a nipple necklace of some sort, I think, or a light shade, a lamp pole that was made with lips. Truly disgusting, truly horrific. You know, and this is where you start to see all of the elements of all of these different movies: Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Psycho, and Silence of the Lambs. All of these come together now, and you start to see and sense and get the feeling for this one truly, you know, demonic, evil person that could do this to people. Now, he confessed, I believe, to the murder of Bernice, and because there were all these different body parts scattered throughout the house and the shed, that he then admitted to grave robbing or body snatching. And how he described it was he would go to the graveyards and dig up the bodies, newly deceased bodies, and would dig them up, take the bodies back to his home, and again de-skin them, take body parts out, chop off their heads, pull the skin off their face, anything of those sorts, whatever he felt the need to do. Some even have said that the part in Silence of the Lambs where the idea is that Buffalo Bill was basically fashioning a suit out of skin or a sort of outer clothing to become female, to become a woman. There's stories about Ed Gein fantasizing about that as well, and possibly the reason why he did what he did with most of these body parts was sort of fashioning the idea that he can put a woman's face over his own and de-skin the body or the appendages. And he actually made gloves out of another body's hand and would wear them around the home. So it's sort of a mix of things, and it gets that feeling of the movie Silence of the Lambs pretty much in clarity form right now, as to what sort of the motivations were, or what the ideas were that were going in his head at the time. Obviously, investigators and doctors are not going to get the true answer really, from him or about him, and so these are the things that they piece together based on the evidence and some of the records that were found in the home. But this background basically, and I don't know, did you want to add any more to the history?
He actually did wear the skin.
Mm-hmm.
He flayed some of the bodies, and when they arrested him, because they found all these parts, they thought he had killed a whole bunch of people.
Right.
But he had, while they had him in the jail, at first he wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't talk. But then at one point, now here's where you can see the madness. He asked for a slice of pie with some cheddar cheese. They gave it to him. Once they gave him the pie, he started talking. He told them anything that he wanted. He admitted to killing Bernice and Mary Hogan. And he told them about the other body parts that they did come from the cemetery. And what he would do is he would read the obituaries. And whenever he would see that a new body or someone had died, he would find out when the services would be. And at that night, after the service, he would hightail it over to the cemetery and dig up the body and bring it back home and then start dissecting it.
Right.
One thing I do want to mention, Mary Hogan, the bar owner, the other woman that he killed, she owned the tavern in the town. She had a reputation. She was loud. She had a mouth like a truck driver. And Ed, at one point, started going to the tavern. And according to what the doctors feel, that he saw Mary as the complete opposite of his mother. Where his mother was this sainted person, Mary was this horrible, sinful woman. Supposedly she had been divorced, things like that. Now, the thing is that they also noticed is that both Bernice and both Mary resembled his mother. They both had the same body type. They both had the dark hair. So in his mind, you figure that he saw both of these women kind of like as versions of his mother, but very evil, bad versions of him.
Right. The reason why we're talking about this is because we want to give everybody the history, the feeling of Ed Gein as we go into the Spirit Box sessions with him. Also, too, just to note that once he did confess, as I mentioned in the intro, he was convicted, although clinically insane, and then was put into a mental hospital where he died in 1984. There were no other stories that came out from him during the time that he was at the mental hospital. Obviously, no one could interrogate or interview or question him because of the state of his inability or ability. So nothing else was confessed, but investigators at the time, and the records still indicate that there is still a possibility that he did murder other women, and that it just was not Mary Hogan or Bernice. Obviously, his brother is in question as well, as far as killing his own brother, but they're still questioning the idea that it may not have just been those two women, and that's, I think, where that discrepancy comes into play as far as whether or not he's a serial killer or not. So, I have to sneeze. Sorry.
Well, you know what? When he was in Central State Hospital in Wisconsin, the psychiatrists they did a month-long study of him. They did testify that he suffered from schizophrenia. He was prone to hallucinations, delusional thinking, and he actually believed that he was an instrument of God with the power to raise the dead. Now, there is one other story that I found that was interesting. While he was in Central State Hospital, they thought he was a model prisoner. He was quiet. He stayed to himself. He didn't speak to any of the other inmates. But there was an interview with a former hospital supervisor, and his name was Daryl Stredge. And he said around the time of the full moon, Ed, the rest of the time he was quiet. He was pretty normal. He would sit there. He would play cribbage with people. Around the time of the full moon, Ed would begin to talk about women and the things that he wanted to do to them. He would start to ramble incoherently when the moon was full, and then once the moon subsided, he would return to his usual self. I found that a little interesting. I mean, it was just kind of weird.
Little werewolf action?
And, they put him in Central State at first because they had declared him legally insane. After about 9-10 years in the hospital, the doctors determined that he was competent to stand trial. So they sent him back, they sent him to court after a 9-day trial. He was found guilty and sent back to Central State Hospital to live out his days. They said that once he got back there, he would just lay in his bed. He was very quiet, and it was almost like he was daydreaming, the way they described it. So that's pretty much Ed's life. He stayed there until he died. It was due to respiratory failure because of heart problems and cancer. And Ed's life became the basis, like you said, for books and film. Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Silence of the Lambs. All of these are based on part on Ed. So another interesting final note, he was buried in Plainfield Cemetery next to his mother. The tombstone that they had put there was stolen, but they recovered it. And the grave is unmarked because they can't leave the tombstone there because people keep defacing it and trying to steal it. And his actual tombstone is now being kept in storage at the Washoe County Sheriff's Department in Wisconsin. The groundskeepers at the cemetery report that they still find flowers and letters to Ed at his gravesite.
Interesting. So tonight what we're going to do is, if you've watched and listened to us before, we are going to use the Spirit Box. I, as you know, am in New York and will have my own Spirit Box here. Lucy is in Chicago in her home, and we'll have her Spirit Box there as well. And apologize for tonight because obviously, as you guys know, we do record for YouTube, so you're not able to see the things that we have here. You'll be able to see it this weekend, hopefully, once it's all uploaded onto YouTube. But I have a few things that I'm going to have with me tonight. I have my K2 meter, which if you are watching on YouTube, once it is downloaded, I'll have my K2 meter, which is right over here. I do have the REM pod, which I'll be turning on shortly, and I have my Ovilus 3 that'll be set up here. Usually that gives us good communication, or it gives us sort of a good feeling whether or not there is a presence, and we've had some good responses from this. Not so much actively, but it actually does do some relevant responses. So I'll have that going on with me as well. And as you're watching the video, when you watch the video, you'll actually be able to see the actions. I'm going to relay them audibly to you guys so that you'll be able to, I'll let you know what's happening. Lucy will also let you know what's happening on her end as well as we do it. We won't do it at the same time, obviously. Lucy will do her spirit box. We'll see what kind of responses come from her end, and then I'll do the same on my end here as well. While Lucy is doing her spirit box, I'm actually going to have the REM pod on my end. As we do this, we try and call Ed Gein's spirit, and we don't know how the spirit world works. They could be in two places at once. And so as you may be getting responses on Lucy's end, I could have activity going on here on my end. Now, whether or not that's Ed Gein or not, I don't know. It could be other spirits that we're bringing through. So, look out for that and try and listen. It's best to listen with headphones if you do have headphones with you. Otherwise, if you are alone, or if people don't mind you raising the volume on your laptops or iPads or cell phones, then by all means go ahead and do that so that you can actually hear the responses from the spirit box. And all that we do is ask that everybody, if you are still willing to watch this tonight and listen to us, that you do keep an open mind, but do not keep an open mind so much that you will become a sponge. We don't want to attract anything on your end. We ask that you guys focus everything to Lucy and I. If you have any sort of rituals that you do on your own, creating white light, surrounding yourself with white light, or if it's a Bible verse, if it's whatever it is, by all means go ahead and do that now if you'd like. And let us know in chat as you are listening tonight if there's anything that happens to you, or if you feel anything or hear anything that we may not be able to hear. Let us know as well. Now, as you all know too, Blog Talk Radio, the audio is recorded at the end of each show, and it's archived. So you can actually go back to Blog Talk, the same link that you got to the show. You'll be able to go back to it probably 10 or 15 minutes after the show ends, and be able to click on it and listen to it again. And so what that does is actually acts as a digital recorder. So you may be able to catch EVPs where there may be responses that we don't hear at the moment, or that may not be coming through on the spirit box, but are actually excuse me, I'm losing my voice tonight, that are actually recorded over the air as this show is being recorded. The same goes with the YouTube video as well. Lucy, did you want to add anything?
Just pretty much, as you're listening, if you hear something, type it in chat. If you're feeling anything, okay, if you feel any kind of negative or anything like that, you know what? Turn the show off, okay? Never put yourself in any type of harm's way. Like Anthony said, if you have any kind of protective, ritual that you do, then go ahead and do it. As far as Anthony and me, we have things that we do ourselves. Keep in mind that this is simply a communication session. We're not trying to manifest anything evil, negative. It's just simply communication. We want to see what kind of answers we get. Also, too, like Anthony mentioned, you got to keep in mind that we don't know who is out there, what's around. A lot of times you may have something that may be sending answers, trying to answer the questions that we're asking Ed. So those things in mind, I've got my SB7, I got my digital recorder, which is going, and it's been going, and that's pretty much all that I have. So,
Okay, I'm gonna.
I do.
Yeah.
We do have the verses that from Revelations that Ed's mother used to like to read. So at one point, I kind of want to read those out loud. There's two
Mm-hmm.
verses from Revelations that let's see what happens if we read them out loud.
Okay. So
Okay.
I'm gonna. Let me just do that again so everybody. I'm turning on the REM pod right now. Oh, that's strange. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay, so the REM pod is on. I'm going to turn on the obelisk. I'm going to leave this here. Okay. Lucy, why don't you start us off on your spirit box on your end?
Okay. So just to let you know, I've got this on FM
AM.
and I'm using AM. And I'm using the highest sweep rate.
And make sure it's comfortable enough to the speaker, to your actual microphone, sorry.
Okay.
And what you want to do is, right off the bat, try and call out. I got gray on the obelisk. I don't know what that means. But try and first call out to see if there are any spirits around. See if there is a response, and then maybe human came up on the obelisk. Gray and human. Not sure what that means. But first see if there's anybody there with you, and then call out for Ed Gein and see if he'll come forward.
There's a lot coming through already. Okay. If you can hear the sound of my voice, I would like to speak with Edward Theodore Gein. If you can hear my voice, Ed, I would like to speak with you. I would like to speak with Ed. If you know of him, please answer and let us know. Eddie. Somebody just said Eddie.
You heard Eddie?
Yeah.
Call for him again.
Edward Theodore Gein. Edward Theodore Gein, if you are there and you can hear me, please respond. Say your name for me. Eddie.
I just got information on the obelisk.
Edward Gein. Edward Theodore Gein. From Plainfield, Wisconsin. Can you speak with us? Edward.
I heard Lucy. Did you hear Lucy? I heard Lucy. Did you hear Lucy?
No. Can you say my name again?
Who
Someone
ask?
just say.
Ask who's
Someone just
asking.
said help.
Yeah, ask who's asking for help.
Who is helping for? Who is asking for help?
I heard me.
Who are you? Why do you need help? Somebody said shut up.
Ask for their name again.
The person who said help, tell me your name. Why do you need help? Who are you? Do you know Edward Gein? Can you tell me where he is?
What was that?
I don't know.
That was like fucking what or something like that. It was a cursing.
Who's talking? Who's cursing? Psycho. Somebody just said psycho.
Yeah, it sounded something like that.
Who just said psycho? Who is psycho?
Is that you, Eddie Gein?
Eddie Gein, is that you? Do it. Do what? Somebody said my name before. Can you say it again?
I heard no.
Tell me who I'm speaking to. Steve? How many people are there? I
7.
heard a woman.
I heard 7.
Okay. Can I speak to Augusta Gein? Augusta Gein, are you there? Augusta Gein. Yes.
Tell her to say her name.
Can you please say your name for me, Mrs. Gein? Augusta, can you say your name for me? Augusta, is Edward with you? Are you two together?
I heard together.
Are you two together?
Did you just hear that? I heard together very clearly.
I didn't hear it.
Am I going crazy?
Augusta, please say your name. Can you tell me where you are? Augusta, if you're with Edward, tell me where you are. Wednesday. What happened on a Wednesday? What? Say that again, please. Okay, I need to know who I'm speaking with. Augusta, I believe you responded. Can you confirm that? Jail? Who said jail? Now's your chance to say something. Can you tell us who you are, where you're at?
Not something.
Spirit?
I thought I heard together again.
Augusta, are you with Edward? Can you just please tell me, yes or no?
See if you can call
Edward.
Ed. Yeah, see if you can call Ed.
Edward, if you are there, can you tell me, do you realize what you had done? Yes.
There was a male voice there. I didn't hear it though, but there's something.
Okay, I keep hearing a man's voice very strongly. Tell me who you are and what do you want to say? Edward, if you are there, can you tell me, is your mind clear now? Do you understand what you've done?
I heard thank you.
Where are you at? What can you see? Edward, can you tell me where your home was? What town did you live in?
Christ.
Christ, I heard. Are you with Christ? Someone said Christ. Do you believe in the Son of God? Is he your salvation? Is there a God? Okay, I'm hearing so many voices. I need one of you to come forward, please. And if you could speak for the rest of them. Who are you and where are you? Please.
I thought I just heard still here.
Okay. Edward Gein, Augusta Gein, Henry Gein. Augusta, can you say my name? I'm going to read something to you. Can you tell me if you recognize it? Then he carried me away in spirit into the desert. There I saw a woman riding upon a scarlet animal, covered with blasphemous titles, and having 7 heads.
I heard witch or
And
bitch.
10 horns. The woman herself was dressed in purple and scarlet, glittering with gold, jewels and pearls. In her hand, she held a golden cup full of the earth's filthiness. And her own foul impurity. On her forehead is written the name with a secret meaning: Babylon, the great mother of all harlots. And of the earth's abominations. Do you know what I just read? Can you tell me what you know about the book of Revelations? Tell me your name. What? Speak to me again. I'm asking you to please speak to me. Ed Gein. Someone said Ed Gein. Who said that? Do you know Edward Gein?
Is that you?
Ed Gein, is that you? Edward, is that you? Are you with your mother? Okay, I'm hearing two men very strongly. Can you tell me who you are? Or are you Edward? Edward, if you're there, just let me know. Say your mother's name, say Plainfield.
Ask him if he needs help.
Edward, Gein, do you need help?
I heard Bernie.
I'm getting... Who is Bernie?
Is that Bernie Sanders coming through on the radio?
Okay. So, someone said they needed help. Who needs help and why? Are you in pain? The man with the deep voice, you keep coming through. Are you allowing the others to speak to us? Can you allow Edward Gein to talk to us?
Yeah, Fergie Kate is hearing it. She's been hearing it also, and I just heard it now. I keep hearing the word killed.
Edward, did you kill Bernice and Mary? Edward, tell me where Mary and Bernice are.
What's that beep noise?
I don't know. What was that beeping noise?
Sounded like that was in your room, not on the radio.
No, it was through the radio. Edward, can you tell me what happened to Henry? What happened to Henry Gein? Did you kill him?
I thought I just heard something deaf.
Edward, we're not here to judge you. We just want to know, did you kill Henry? Who said Ed? Okay, Henry Gein, if you can hear me, did Edward kill you? Edward? Okay, somebody said Edward. Do you know him? Where is he? Can he speak with me? I can't understand what you're saying. Only one person can speak, please. Do you want to try? Because there's so many voices coming through.
Yeah, I want to share with everybody because the Alvolus was actually going off constantly during the whole entire time. And I was writing down the words as it was coming through. So here's a list of the words that were coming through from the beginning. Gray, human, information, story, meat, jerk, light, country, deep, learn, coffee, liar. It was funny because when you were asking, there was one point early on when you was asking, what do you see? What do you see now? Where are you? What do you see? It came over as moist. Then the word woman, enter, care, suffer, thing, beware, light, loser, confused. Then something very strange. It just went off again. What? Verb. Whatever that means. Verb. But what was really strange, I've never had this happen on this thing. It said F. Like, it's the consonant F. The letter F. Now this thing is on dictionary F. And it said F. This thing is on dictionary mode. I don't know. It just said something again. I didn't hear it. This thing is on dictionary mode, so it's supposed to give out words, not letters. So that was weird. And then the word apart, metal, express, verb, which you guys just heard now, and then this last word, which I don't know what it said, because I wasn't really paying attention. So that's what came over on the Ovilus, and then I was writing some of the words down. I couldn't get what that was saying. Some of the words that came over on your spirit box, I got Eddie, Lucy, help, psycho, do it, no, 7, when you were asking how many, together, Wednesday, and I looked up, maybe you can do it with the other dates, but I looked up his day of the week for his death, and it was Thursday, but maybe you can look up maybe the deaths of Bernice or Mary were on a Wednesday, I don't know. The word not, thank you, and then Ed Gein, and then killing was coming up a few times I had heard.
You know, when I started reading the passage from Revelations, it was almost like I could feel the energy just all of a sudden just jump. It was very, very weird. And that's when all of the voices started coming through.
Just said did on my Ovilus.
November 16th was a Saturday. So if Bernice died, she died on a Friday.
Right, I'm going to try mine.
Yeah, let's see what you get, because I got a lot. I mean, there was a lot there. Almost too much to really...
Sorry guys, I'm just trying to get it to work. Okay, ready? Okay, I'm calling for Ed Gein. Edward Theodore Gein. I ask that you come forward and speak with me through this device that is in my hand. Please come forward and say your name. Edward Gein, are you there? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try this just on one. I have the the PSB11, which has the dual function. So I'm going to try and turn that one off. Okay. Manner. Okay. Edward Gein, are you there? Please say your name. Is there anybody that is here with me right now that can come and speak to me?
No. Yes.
It was like a whisper I heard. Really weird whisper of a female. Whoever's
Yeah,
there,
there's a female voice.
whoever is there, please come forward and say your name loud and clear. Edward, did you say when I see a pretty girl walking down the street, I think two things? One part wants me to be really nice and sweet, and the other part wonders what her head would look like on a stick?
What?
Edward, did you kill Mary Hogan?
Not?
Not. Edward Gein, did you kill Bernice Watson?
It's like a whimpering. It's like I hear like a whimpering.
Edward, are you with your mother Augustus right now? Are you with her right now? I heard Ed. Ed, where are you right now? Ed Gein, I'm calling upon your name. Where are you right now? Right, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Ed Gein, if you hear my voice, if you can hear my voice right now, I have 2 devices on a shelf right behind me. If you can hear my voice, come to my voice. Stand or touch near these items so that the lights can go off. That way I'll know that you're here. If you can hear my voice, Ed Theodore Gein, come to the sound of my voice and touch these 2 things that are on the shelf right behind me. What did the obelisk just say? Shock. Do you understand, Ed? Ed Gein, if you can hear my voice, come towards me now. We want to talk to you. We want to find out why you did what you did. Can you come to the sound of my voice and communicate with me? Edward, we know what you did to your brother. Just confess and tell us that you did it, that you killed Henry.
Yes.
What?
Somebody said yes.
It's either yes or step. I keep hearing that.
Again.
How did you kill your brother, Ed? How did you kill Henry? Ed, we need you to confess. How did you kill your brother Henry? Tell me how you killed him.
Ed.
I don't know if I heard stabbed him. Do we know how his brother died?
No. It was a fire. It was the brush fire.
Ed, we want to know, more importantly, why you did what you did. Why did you kill those 2 women? And why did you dig up those graves? What was the reason or the purpose? I thought I heard farm.
Ask him if he's still lonely.
Ed, now that you have died and you've crossed over, are you still lonely? Do you feel as though you are the outcast? I thought I heard, of course. Are you still sad? I just saw lights flash on your
Where?
on your end. On your end. I just saw lights flash, like a camera flash.
No, I didn't see anything.
It was behind
I'll
you.
have to look at the. I'll have to look at the tape.
All right, review the tape then when we're done with the show.
Yeah.
Anybody who is listening to my voice, Ed, if you are still there, can you tell me why you did what you did? Why did you kill those women? Why did you grave rob? Why did you skin and debone and take their body parts? What was the reason? City? I heard city. I'm not getting too much on this. Why don't we go back to yours?
Okay. Yeah. Because I think they're here.
Or maybe is it attracted more towards you because you're a woman?
Bear with me for a second, guys. I just got to get this started again.
Fergie Kate in chat said she heard insanity.
Okay, Edward, if you're there, talk to us. Tell us how you feel now. Are you sorry for what you did?
We can't hear it. It's very low.
Edward, are you still there? Can you talk to me?
I just had the word demon come up on the obelisk. I showed it on the camera.
Oh, good. Okay, anybody who is there, who can hear my voice, tell me who you are and talk to me. Stupid.
I heard stupid.
Who's stupid? I want to know who I'm talking to. There's nothing coming through. Who are you? What happened in Plainfield?
I can't hear it.
Are you kidding me?
Turn it the other way.
Augusta Gein, Henry Gein, Edward Gein. Are any of you near? Can you hear?
I heard hello.
Hello. Are you okay? Is the family together? Augusta, tell me, is your family together? Are you finally happy? Okay. Is there anyone there that needs help? How can we help you? Psychic. Someone said psychic. Yes, I am psychic. Come on, keep talking to me. Husband? Are you the husband of Augusta Gein? What is your name? Augusta, where's your husband? More? Yes, more.
More? Ask Ed if there's one thing that he wants to tell people. Is there anything that he wants to say to his family or to
Ed,
anybody else?
is there anything that you...
Papa. You know what? Wait a minute. Papa just came up on the obelisk, and I could have sworn I heard on your end Papa as well. I want to listen to the show again. At the maybe about 5 minutes ago, 6-7 minutes ago,
I keep
maybe.
hearing the word husband.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, Edward, if you're there and you can hear me, please, is there something you want to say to everyone? Who was calling for their papa? Okay, anyone that wants to say something, go ahead and say it. This is your last chance. Okay, you can hear my voice. I'm going to get ready to shut off this machine. You're not allowed to stay with either me or Anthony. All right? You have to go back to where you were. Do you understand that? Somebody said yes. Again, do you understand that you have to go back where you belong? Tell me you understand. I'm going to shut down the machine. Do you want to say goodbye? Goodbye.
We want to thank the spirits for talking with us. If it was Ed Gein, if it was Augusta Gein, if it was George Gein, anyone that was communicating with Lucy or with myself, we want to thank you. Truly and deeply thank you for talking to us, to try and communicate with us as best as you could or as best as we could. We appreciate your help and support, We thank you. We wish you well. We hope that you are able to go back to where you are, or where you were before we started communicating with you. You're not welcome to stay here with me, or to stay with Lucy in her home, or with anybody else that is watching or listening to us tonight. Again, we thank you, and
We
be
wish
well.
you peace.
Okay, I'm just lighting my sage right now.
Let me grab mine. Honestly, I do want to sage after this one because I felt so many voices, so many entities. There were an awful lot of spirits coming through. And I couldn't get a sense of one in particular. I kept hearing a woman's voice. I kept hearing the word, the name Ed. At one point, I did hear someone say psychic, which is really weird. That happens a lot. They seem to tend to recognize that I do have some kind of abilities. It happened at Hillview when I walked in the door. There was just so much. I mean, I right now I feel drained. I feel very, very drained. So there was an awful lot.
Yeah, there was an awful lot, and I felt a mix of things. I don't know if it was like a mix of emotions or a mix of spirits, but I felt goodness at some points. I felt sort of bad vibe. There were at some points there were, and you guys can listen to this again if you want. There seemed to be some underlying, really deep, dark, whispering voices that didn't sound like they were on the same plane level as the other voices that we were talking to. But if you guys are interested and you're hearing us here on Blog Talk tonight, I'm going to download this video tomorrow, and you will see at one point that the Ovilus, as Lucy was doing her spirit box, the Ovilus actually said demon, and it was written out on the screen, and I brought it up and I showed it to the camera that's recording us tonight, so that when this goes up on YouTube, you'll be able to actually see it. That was the... I don't know what it just said. Sometimes it says things and does not print the words, so I can't get it at the moment unless I'm actually concentrating on it. But after I last spoke about all the words that the Ovilus said, I was able to capture a few more. So demon, cup was the other one, cattle, papa, as I mentioned, and then born. Again, I don't know what all these words mean. They can mean nothing, or they can mean some sort of partial words of whatever is being spoken or trying to be communicated. So I'm just finishing up the sage right now, Lucy. So if you want to go on to, we have a few minutes left. Thank you all for listening to us tonight and partaking in this little seance. If you haven't, catch us again on Blog Talk on the archive and listen to the show again and see if there's anything else that you may have missed or that you can actually pick up again. So why don't you go on with the fan of the week
quickly.
And next week's show.
This week, our Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week is from YouTube again. We're getting a lot of people that are subscribing, a lot of people commenting. And this week, it is Zandalee Clarice of YouTube land. Zandalee commented on our show with Lauren Christensen, The Cop's True Story of the Paranormal. She said, I really love your show. Thank you for all the interesting stories. Thank you, Zandalee. Thank you for listening, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, Zandalee. And don't forget, if you want to be a Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week, just like us on Facebook or subscribe here at YouTube.
Okay, very quickly. Next week, we are happy to have back a dear friend of the show, someone who has opened up to us in the past and has shared some really deep and insightful stories and opinions about his own paranormal experience, as well as thoughts on the paranormal in general. He's an awesome guy, and he is someone that we truly do love to talk to. We are going to have an amazing show with the one and only Kai Blackwood. We're going to discuss some paranormal topics like spirits, ghosts, the devil, UFOs, maybe get into Bigfoot, but also some strange phenomena in the world. And we're going to get a real perspective from someone who has a real opinion on things. Get ready to get down and dirty with Kai next week. Thank you to everyone who listens, watches, and comments on the show. We appreciate all of you. And even if it's good or bad, we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, Anthony, for making Friday nights so much fun and for making my birthday special. So, until next week, Parapeeps, always look beyond the surface and have a paranormal week. Good night.
Good night, everybody.